it's indeed coming around full circle, because I started leading my workshops at the School of Ancient Wisdom almost 25, 30 years ago. And here we are reconnecting again, and it's a pleasure. Having met and interacted with Manize, she's a different soul who dreamt and created a space where one can genuinely sense the movements within, and also invigorate the spiritual being within. That's the beauty of the School of Ancient Wisdom. I always cherish the time I spent there, and I always look forward to going there. And when this opportunity came up, I thought this is one way to show my gratitude to her, wherever she is at this moment. I'm sure she's blessing the place and blessing every individual to realize their own spiritual journey and achieve their own spiritual sadhanas. So, coming to today's topic, and the way we will go forward is, I'm just sharing my screen. Are you all able to see this? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Being mindful, learning to learn, and this is a satsang. Satsangs are meant to be a place where a lot of good discussions are created. However, I have a question to everybody present today. I see a lot of my friends from Malaysia and other places there in the audience. Welcome to all of you. Why do I go to a satsang, or why do I go to a dialogue space, or why do I really go to any such gathering? This being a satsang, how many of us genuinely ask this question? Many times, I'm not very sure why I come there. I come there sometimes to accumulate knowledge. I come there to learn to maybe become wiser, or to know how I get wiser. But do we do all these things really happen? Many years ago, I remember I was in Detroit doing some work for Ford, and it was a long period. I was there for almost a month, and that happened to be a Easter month. So I used to go to the Sunday Easter gatherings at the church with my friend and sit and listen to those sermons. And post the sermon, there would be a lot of food that would be served. It would have those pancakes and maple syrup, which I always love to have. And when driving back, I used to ask my friend, how can somebody be the same person after listening to such a wonderful sermon? Because each Sunday, the father would choose the priest would choose a particular theme. Could be forgiving, could be caring for others, and such lovely stories, such lovely examples. And I would ask, and I think it became a ritual for many of us to go to such places, be a part of it, and come back. To me, today's focus is going to be, how do I extract more out of wherever I am, in whatever conversation I am, and any of these kind of satsangs that I'm a part of. The need to be is, how do I become more wiser than knowledgeable? I think none of us have any dearth of knowledge. But what is the journey between knowledge and wisdom? Why is our knowledge not getting converted into wisdom? And the symbol that you see here is, when I'm stuck with knowledge, I don't seem to grow or evolve. But the minute I get to become wiser, or when I condense this knowledge, explore this knowledge further, there is a possibility that I can get wiser, or my wisdom will start growing. My focus for this evening is going to be, what is this journey all about? How do I really get the most out of any of such conversations, such dialogues, or such meetings? And I'm also a person who strongly believes that there can't be a better satsang than life itself. The kind of people that we interact with, the kind of situations we come across. Everybody, every situation has something to tell you, something to learn from, and something to gain deep insights from. So let me take you through what is this journey of wisdom, and what are the various processes that are involved. I would invite you to put any questions during the process of this conversation in the chat box, or if you want, you can unmute your mic and raise a question, and I would be very happy to answer them. I'm not somebody who will get distracted if you interrupt me with a question. If it's a very pressing question, please do raise them. So for me to begin my journey towards wisdom, I need to start learning. And when does learning really start? When does learning start happening? Or when do I feel the need for learning? Personally, I feel the need for learning when I know I don't know something. And I call that conscious ignorance. We all have heard as we were growing up that what we know is handful and what needs to be known is oceanful. There are similar such sayings in several cultures and several religions. However, for some reason, I think as adults, when we grow up, our learning quotient keeps coming down. I make a very jovial statement, but I mean every word of what I'm saying. Half my life I'm busy making conclusions, and the remaining half I'm busy proving them. And every time one of my conclusions come right, I pat my back, and I love saying this word, I told you so. I knew this is going to happen. Without realizing how actually I work towards making that happen. As long as I keep playing that game in life, my knowledge is going to be, I'm not going to be learning anything new. I'm only going to be verifying whatever comes to me with what I know, or the filter through which I will put any knowledge that is put in front of me is the filter of what I already know, and therefore lose a lot of learning. But what is even more important is how I remain ignorant and continue to start believing that the world I see is the world that I carry within my mind. There's a beautiful story that I would like to share here. It seems that the family of tortoise, which decided to go on a picnic. So it was a weekend. They all got together. They packed their food. They went to the nearby lake, which was a very beautiful, large lake. And as soon as they reached the spot, all the little ones jumped into the lake. They were playing hide and seek, all kinds of things. And the elders were sitting under the tree and chatting, catching up with each other. But soon it was lunchtime, and the elders opened the food pack. They called the youngsters to come. And when one of the elders tasted the food, they realized suddenly there's no salt in it. And so the elders caught hold of the tortoise that could run the fastest. And they said, hey, salt is available here. There's no salt. Could you please go and get salt? Given the speed of the tortoise, it should take not more than 10 minutes for this tortoise to go and get the salt. But the young tortoise told the elders, look, if I go, you're going to eat, leaving me behind. And the elders promised, no, we will not eat, leaving you behind. Please go get the salt. And he insisted, no, you're going to eat, leaving me behind. After a while, he said, okay, let me go and...
Suddenly become less in this WebEx. Can you make it more? I'm watching a meeting. Suddenly, I got a phone call. I answered that. The volume has become less.
So can I continue?
Continue. I'd like everyone to be on mute, please.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are who have unmuted, and we can hear the cricket commentary also in the background.
Kindly mute yourselves. Aniket, will you mute everyone, please?
So this tortoise said, I'm going, and the tortoise went. It was 10 minutes over, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, almost an hour and a half, and no sign of this tortoise returning. And the little ones were so hungry, they said, salt or no salt, let them eat. And when one of the tortoise first put the morsel of food into its mouth, this little tortoise jumped from behind the bush and said, I told you no, if I go, you will eat, leaving me behind. Not many of us realize that this is what we do. We try to prove what we have concluded, and we work unconsciously or subconsciously or sometimes even consciously to make our reality the reality. Like in this story, the little tortoise, had it gone and got the salt, they waited for 90 minutes. It would just take 10 minutes. And 90 minutes, it tested the patience of people. I mean, the other tortoise. And when they gave in, the tortoise proved, look, my guess came true, not realizing the tortoise contributed to making that conclusion of his or hers come true. So, are we really going with an open mind? Are we aware of how much we don't know? Do we realize that each context is unique? And can we live with that awareness that we don't know? And that for me is something very, very important. If we have to get the most out of any situation, I need to know that I don't know everything. I know something. And how do I remain in the space between what I know and what I don't know? And I call that the edge between what I know and what I don't know. Once I'm aware of that, then comes the next phase where I actually go and acquire the knowledge. I didn't know something, now I know what it is all about. Typically, when we get to know something, or I would leave a question for each of you, when you didn't know something and when you got to know, what is that you do? And the kind of answer I get from people is, we will go and apply that in real life. Okay. So then I tell another story. It seems there was a young man who didn't know how to achieve salvation. So he found his guru, and he went and told the guru, look, I want to achieve salvation. Help me how to achieve salvation. So those days in the Gurukul, the teachers were very strict. They didn't give the knowledge just like that. So the guru examined this young student and said, you're not ready for it right now. Go back and do the following rituals for the next 3 months and come back after 3 months. So this young person went and spent the 3 months doing all that the guru had asked him to do, and came back exactly on the slated day and told the guru, here I am, I did everything that you asked me to do. And the guru again examined. He said, you're still not ready. Go do this for the next 6 months. Like this, 3 months, 6 months, 4 months, 10 years went by, and the student consistently did everything that the master asked him to do and was there at the time that the master asked him to come. So one morning, the guru had asked him to come at early morning, 4 a.m., the Brahma Muhurt. And here he was, and it was pouring cats and dogs. So he was drenched and he was at the door, knocking at the door of the guru. And the guru opened the door, seeing his commitment and seeing his hard work. He said, let me give him the secret today. So he called him and he got ready and he sat. And the guru gave him the secret which would help him achieve salvation, which is a very popular saying, Neki kar kuve mein dal, which means do good and throw it in the well. So this guy was so excited that 10 years of his hard work has paid off that morning. And he was so happy. He took the blessings of the guru, and the guru also gave him some breakfast, and he was parting with the guru, and he was returning home. And as he was returning home, he had to cross a busy street. And just before crossing the street, he found an old woman struggling to cross the street. So he held her by hand, helped her to cross the street, found a well nearby and threw her into it. Do good and throw it in the well. What do you think was missing in this? In this whole process of how the student learned what the master shared? Many a time, what is being said is taken literally. really understand all that I hear? Do I really understand all that I know? I don't think each of us spend enough time and energy to understand what we know. A lot of us have a lot of knowledge, but have we really understood that knowledge? Millions of people maybe saw apple falling from the tree. They had the knowledge, but one man tried to understand and he became father of science. At a day-to-day level, you have the knowledge that your child gets angry on a certain thing, but do you really have an understanding of that anger, or do you have an understanding of her? So do I live out of knowledge, or do I live out of understanding? In fact, I go to many such satsangs, go to many such meetings, professional group meetings. I listen to whatever is being shared. How often or how much effort do I really put to understanding? Because if I don't understand, and if I try to apply it at a knowledge level, then I'll help somebody else to achieve salvation, like the young man pushed the old woman into the well. So what does it mean to really live out of understanding? I will give a couple of examples from my life. I remember my daughter used to get pediatric wheezing when she was very young, hardly 8 months, 9 months, and we used to take her to the pediatrist and he would put the nebulizer. And she grew, she was 4 or 5, and still she used to get the wheezing. So one day when we were at the doctor's place, he put her on a nebulizer and she was lying in bed. And I said, this is not done. We would like to do look at some alternative. So we went to a homeopath who was just 100 meters from where we were living. And he took 2 hours of case study. He was talking to us. He was asking all kinds of questions. And sometimes I was wondering, what has this question got to do with my daughter's wheezing? So he made at least 10-page notes, and then he said, okay, next time she gets wheezing, let me know, I'll give you some medicine. So a month later, again, she had wheezing, and Kalpana ran to him and he gave some medicine. But while giving the medicine, he asked, where is Sampath? And she said, Sampath has gone on travel. Again, another month, and again, my daughter had wheezing, and she went, and Kalpana went to the doctor, and then he again gave the medicine, but asked, where is Sampath? And she said, he's on travel. And when I came back, Kalpana said, hey, every time I go, this is the question the doctor asks. I don't know why he is asking this question. So when we went for the next consultation, we asked, why are you asking us this question? And he said, look, every time that you're out, she feels very stressed. And the stress is what is causing the wheezing, not anything else. And I'm only giving her medicine to deal with that stress. So when you try to understand, the solution that you come up with are very, very different. What my allopathic doctor was doing, she has wheezing and I have to give her a nebulizer to control the wheezing. Here is somebody who found what was the actual cause and how do I deal with the cause so that the symptoms really vanish. So how often do we really try to understand what's going on when we are trying to find a solution? Or do we operate out of knowledge? When we look at and stop with knowledge, we all look for, tell me what to do and I will do, see if it works. But when it is understanding, you bring your own mind into the whole process and try to gain a deeper understanding of the whole thing. And you may come up with very different solutions. So from understanding, where do you think we should move? The next piece is certainly insights. Many of us try to understand things, but then are we able to draw our own insights from the understanding? if I'm to give an example of an insight, we didn't know that there was gravity. Somebody gave the knowledge about gravity. We understood gravity. And there are a few scientists who went deep into it and started computing or creating mathematical models on how much a payload of fuel is needed for me to launch a rocket into the space that will beat the gravity. Or there are so many other new insights that come just on one simple principle of gravity. Many new theories emerge. So is about human behavior or anything else, even our spiritual journeys, our spiritual growths. Do we really try and ask ourselves, if, do we really understand what we believe in? We had a multi-religious prayer before we started this event. Did we even go and understand what each prayer meant? Is there a common ground between all these prayers? Do we really have we really inculcated this prayer into us? Why was this prayer created in the first instance? What value it has for mankind? I mean, I don't think we ask such questions and stay with those questions long enough for us to be able to draw those insights. So therefore, I don't think, I'm not sure about the audience today, but for many of us, when we go for a talk, we go there, we listen to the talk, maybe at the end or at the beginning, we have camaraderie, or we meet our friends. At the end of the talk, we tell bye to each other and move on. I don't know how many of us spend time to reflect on, hey, what was shared in the last 1 hour? How is it relevant to my life? Is there any meaning to what was shared with respect to how I'm leading my life? Do I really understand what this person was trying to tell me, and do I have any insights around it? Or can I see some connect of it to my own life? I am not sure how many of us really dwell on the conversations we have, or the listening we did to what the speaker was sharing, and how long does this really stay? I remember I don't know, should I approve or decline? I will just approve it. So therefore, I can share one such. I really don't know how to annotate, so I'm not going to do that. Or maybe I can do that if it allows me. Let me check. If I can, I will do. Otherwise, please pardon me. So I'll give you a personal example of an insight. I used to lead a workshop, and I used to do a particular exercise where I would ask people to, I would auction values and ask people to bid for them. And at the end, I will put name of the bidder, amount bid for, and the name of the value. And we would sit and share why somebody was willing to pay so much for that particular value, and they would tell their own story. And everybody would appreciate me for this exercise. But I remember it was my 35th workshop, and when I proposed this exercise, there was one person who said, I don't want to participate in this exercise. And I asked him why. He said, look, I need all the values. I need all the values, and in your game, I would never be able to get them. So I asked him, what do you want me to do? He said, that's your problem, not mine. I know what I want to do. He was literally this blunt. I said, okay. And I somehow managed to finish that workshop, came back home, and the next 4 days and nights, I couldn't sleep. Because I knew this guy was trying to tell me something which was very powerful, but I didn't understand it. And on the 5th day morning, I cracked it, which was no single value by itself is valuable. Values are interdependent, and one needs to understand this interdependence in order to understand one's own behavior. What he was trying to tell me was, look, I can't just buy one value and live with it. I need all the values. because all of them interplay in the way I live my life and lead my life. So based on that, I developed a tool, and that tool is today very fairly popular. In the last 30 years, we have used it with a number of people, over 1 million of them. So do we really stay with questions? Do we really stay with many things that we come across? Or we brush aside that question, or some of us even go to the extent of saying, look, 34 workshops, people have appreciated this exercise, and here you are, a young lad, discrediting this exercise. You're not cooperative, you're not willing to learn, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I can blame this person. But if I'm somebody who's truly a learner, I would go deep and try to find out, what is this person trying to ask me? Where is the question coming from? In fact, I've shared this openly with many. The person who raised this question was much more intelligent than I was, because I didn't have that question till I was doing those 34 workshops. And he asked a question, and in trying to find the answer, I discovered something very, very different, which was very fundamentally different from what existed till that point of time. So therefore, do I really have the ability to stay with things? From the insights, where do we go? From the insights, we go to wisdom. And that wisdom is something which becomes very useful for us to lead life. And if you really see all our ancient texts, they all are filled with wisdom. But one needs to understand, draw one's own insights, and develop one's own wisdom to be able to integrate that into our life. Now, if you really see, how do we really travel in this journey? What will help me to move from ignorance to knowledge? The first thing that I need to move from ignorance to knowledge is a desire to learn. Many of you who are sitting and listening to this, you already have the desire to learn, or desire to grow, or desire to evolve. That's why you are here. But is that desire good enough? What is that is going to help me to move from knowledge to understanding? I need a inquiring mind. How do I really inquire into anything that I come across? I think when I was in school, I was taught this principle of 5W1H: why, what, when, where, who, and how. And how often do I ask these questions? It could be as simple as, my child gets angry. Do I really ask why my child gets angry? Who makes her angry? When does she get angry? She's not 24/7 angry. Where does she get angry? How does she show her anger? I mean, I really don't ask myself these inquiring questions, basically to understand what her anger is all about. Or to that matter, if you go back to possibly the way Newton thought about gravity, he would have asked, why does the apple fall? Who makes it fall? When does it fall? And how does it fall? All those questions. But are we really living our life trying to understand? How many of us are going to, during this conversation or during this presentation, ask ourselves, hey, why only there are 5 steps? Why not a 6th step? Is this the flow of journey towards wisdom? Is there something else missing here? I mean, do I really engage with, or do I listen to it, have knowledge, and maybe a couple of weeks later, if somebody asks you something about wisdom, hey, you will quote, hey, I heard a talk given by Dr. Sampat. He was talking about these 5 steps. My aim is not to make this another prescription for you to follow. My aim is to present to you so that you come up with your own wisdom on what is the journey between ignorance and wisdom. You should be able to make your own understanding about this whole journey. It's not, this is my understanding. And each of us are capable of coming up with our own understanding, provided we are willing to put our energy into delving, inquiring about whatever is being shared with us. So once we understand what is the bridge between understanding and insights, introspection, ability to stay with something, I mean, we all do a lot of meditation. I for one got introduced to transcendental meditation as early as at the age of 23. And I have continued that meditation. Thereafter, I did several forms of meditation. I've done at least 3 vipassanas. To reflect and to introspect is something which is very, very essential if you want to be a learner. It is during this time that we try to process the knowledge that we have acquired, process the understanding that we have got. We have to churn this knowledge, and we'll have to stay with it long enough so that we draw our own insights. In fact, this very model came out of a conversation that I had with someone, in 98, this person was heading the learning and development of a company which had around 350,000 people. And I had an opportunity to have a conversation with him. And when I was talking to him about how does he see learning and what were the various things that they attempt in teaching the employees, it was very interesting. He said, Sampath, we still tell people what to do. We don't let them as yet realize what they should do. And as we were talking, a framework like of this emerged in my own mind. And when I started reflecting, introspecting on this, I came up with this whole journey. And I don't think this privilege is there for only some of us. That would be a complete misnomer or a misjudgment. All of us are capable of coming with our own insights and our own wisdom, provided we are willing to spend that time trying to understand things that we come across, staying with those understandings long enough to be able to draw our own insight. That is the process that is very essential. I was told that there are regular people who come for these satsangs over the last 40 or 45 weeks. And the School of Ancient Wisdom has, particularly Sajani, has been consistently leading these satsangs. And so much of wisdom should have been shared by so many people during these discussions. And I don't know how many of us go back and stay with those understanding, come up with our own questions around the understanding that we derive from what was shared, and do we develop our own new insights? Particularly, we are living in a world where knowledge creation has become very dominant. When I was young, I think having knowledge was good enough. If I knew something more than somebody else, I was supposed to be better than the other person. Today, if I can create knowledge, I will be better than somebody else, then I will be seen as a better person. And if I have to create knowledge, I'll have to understand, and I'll have to stay with that knowledge long enough, stay with that understanding long enough to be able to bring my own insights. And from insights, where do I move to? That's where I apply my insights. If I apply at knowledge level, I will give salvation to others. But if I apply my knowledge at insight level, then the quality of my life can change. When I integrate these insights, there will be new knowledge that will emerge. And that is the wisdom. And out of that wisdom will be born a new knowledge. And again, somebody will have to understand this knowledge. Somebody will have to stay with that knowledge and draw their own insight. So this journey from ignorance to wisdom is a very engaging process. I'm sure, as Sajani was saying, that somebody was also multitasking, listening to the cricket commentary, and is Panth got his 100 or not yet? At the same time, listening, it's not that we can't do multitasking. There are many of us gifted with the ability to do both. But more important is, do I stay with what I'm engaging with? Do I really reflect on what is being shared? And do I stay with it long enough to find my own insights around what I came across? So that journey is very, very critical. And that questioning, whoever is capable of reflecting, inquiring, and introspecting will definitely come up with their own insights. It's not the privilege of only certain people. Every one of us can come up with our own insights, can come up with our own wisdom. That will be available for somebody else as knowledge. And that knowledge, if somebody else tries to understand, inquire into, understand, introspect, stay with, may come up with their own wisdom. And that's how knowledge evolves. But for some reason, I don't know what our education system or the way we have been brought up, we have not been trained to reflect. We have not been trained to inquire. The ancient Gurukul system was all about inquiry, all about reflection. And what one reflected and got was what was integrated and used for further learning and growing. So if I really see the inquiry process alone, why? I mean, I'm somebody who will apply what I learn to whatever I learn. So when I came across this 5W1H, I said, why can't I apply 5W1H to 5W1H and inquire about it? So I said, why these 6 words are so important? For me to solve any problem or to understand any subject, I need to know what that is. I need to have a clear definition of it. If there is a leakage, I need to know there is a leakage. I need to have the definition of the problem. If I'm talking about spirituality, I need to have some understanding of what the spirituality is. Then I need to know why. Why will give me the cause? What will give me the definition? What is causing this? What is causing this leakage? Maybe there's a hole in the pipe. What is causing the need for spirituality? What is causing the need for understanding? What is called? So I need to, without knowing the cause, I will not be able to solve the problem. And every problem has a timing. Sometimes when the pressure in the tank is high, the leakage is more. When the pressure is low, the leakage is. So I need to know the timing. Every problem has a location. So where becomes very important. Your daughter doesn't get angry all the time. There's a location. When she's at home, when she's interacting perhaps with her mother, she gets angry. There's a location. Who is making her angry? Or who is creating the leakage? Is a bad pipe or the hole in the pipe? So for everything, there's an accountability. And how? How does the anger show up? There's a methodology to it. So when I understand these 6 dimensions, I will be able to come up with something which is more palatable and solution to it. But if I try to apply somebody's prescription in solving a problem, or somebody's prescription to understand my own spiritual journey, I may get tripped, or I may find myself stagnating. I will have to really inquire into my own journey. So many of us do stop with knowledge and our learning becomes mindless. You go to any bookstore, you can find several books written out of knowledge. 100 ways to become this, 5 ways to, 7 steps to nirvana. I hope people who read those 7 steps achieved nirvana. They are prescriptions. And when I try to apply others' knowledge without actually understanding, it is like this little story. Once the students complained to their teacher, you always tell stories, but never reveal their meaning to us. And the guru replied, how would you like it if someone offered you fruit and chewed it before giving it to you? I'm not saying those 7 steps to nirvana are wrong. Maybe it was relevant to the person who wrote that book. But is it relevant to me? Maybe it will give me some leads to understand nirvana, but I will have to come up with my own steps. And for that, I need to be mindful. Even what I'm sharing with you right now is only knowledge. If you try to understand what I'm sharing with, if you try to reflect on what I've shared with you, if you stay with it long enough, you may come up with your own insights, your own wisdom. So what is learning typically? For me, learning is the willingness to be open to an input that comes from the environment. I mean, you might be walking in a garden, or for Bangaloreans, you may be walking in Lal Bagh. You can see those beautiful flowers and the lush green leaves. Looking at it, that's an input for you from the environment. Do you engage with it? With a commitment to apply one's mind to understand this input. So when I look at these flowers and the plant, I look at the color combination. I said, wow, what a beautiful color combination. The red rose and the green leaves, the kind of shade of the green and the shade of the rose is so well matched. If I engage with it, I see all this. Otherwise, for me, it's a rose plant. What's a big deal to see it? And a passion to stay with that understanding long enough to be able to derive one's own insights. So then I say, hey, okay, this color combination can be applied to dress. This color combination can be applied to interiors. You can apply this to several things. This followed with a conviction to integrate one's own understanding and insights into real life context makes learning a meaningful process. So if you are a learner, if you are truly a learner, we have been talking now for almost 40 minutes. I've been talking for 40 minutes and a little over 40 minutes. I've shared so much of knowledge to start with. If you are willing to inquire into everything that I share and stay with that understanding long enough, you will come up with and whatever insights you come up with, when you start applying in your own life, you will discover your own journey from ignorance to wisdom. But many of us are not tuned to it. What does it mean to apply what we learn in real life context? I had shared this with, I had led a workshop on the same subject with management trainees of TVS Motors many years ago. And they were going through 3 months of training, and my workshop was the last workshop before they finished their training and they were actually going into work. So this was over a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and they were to make a presentation to the management on Monday as to what they learned in 3 months. So the head of the learning and development decided, through an invitation to me, Sampath, we're going to have a presentation by all the students on Monday as to what they learned in the 3 months. Would you be kind enough to join us? And I had the day free. So I went there to listen to what these people had learned over the 3 months, while my workshop was only for 2 days. And to my surprise, I had one of the trainees share the following presentation after listening to what I just now shared with you. So he applied ignorance, knowledge, understanding, insight, wisdom to something that he saw over the weekend and came up with something phenomenal. So when he finished the workshop and they were going to their rooms, this guy was walking behind somebody and he saw on the shoulder of his friend who was wearing a white shirt, a hair dropped on the shoulder. You know, it happens to all of us. So this guy went and picked up the hair and said, I'm going to apply all that Sampath taught me onto this hair and let us see what comes out of it. So he went and said, I don't know anything about this. Let me go and find out. So he went with a conscious ignorance. And what he discovered was how hair springs back. These are the questions he asked. Why can't we use hair for other applications? You know, when you apply water, the hair will bend. Then he went and did some Googling and came up with the knowledge about hair. Average human has 100,000 hairs. It grows at the rate of 1 centimeter per month. The thickness of the hair is 0.02 to 0.04 mm. If uncut, it can extend up to 70 centimeter length. Its lifetime ranges from 3 to 6 years. It seems hair grows faster in spring season. It can take up to 60 kg load before breathing. You will see people pulling a truck with the hair tied, you know. So, so this is the knowledge here accumulated. Then came of percent protein. Yeah. Hair is composed of 88% protein keratin, that is polypeptide chains, 3 bonds, hydrogen bond, salt bond, cysteine bond is what hair is made. Ability of the hair to get shaped when applied due to electrolytic reaction, hydrogen bond. Hair stretches 70% before breaking.
Can Prashant mute?
Curled hair is formed due to sulfide bond with keratin molecules, elliptical CS. Some of who are good chemistry students can understand all this much better. Cysteine bond perpendicular to hair axis gives toughness and abrasiveness to the hair. Insights: hair has sufficient strength along with elongation. The pigments in hair can be used to extract black color and can be used as a natural coloring agent. It may be experimented for composite material. The sponge property and stretching property of hair could be used. Flake graphite, cast iron, in some way resembles hair. Now, after listening to this, the company was willing to let him experiment to see how a certain part of the bike could be developed using the material from the hair. And he took up that project. So wisdom, he said in the process. So previously the hair was yet another hair. Now my perspective of hair has changed. So how many of us are genuinely willing to apply what we hear, what we learn? Do we really engage with what we come across in life? Do we ask questions? Or do we let it pass by? I don't think there is dearth of knowledge around us. If there's dearth of anything, it is our willingness to engage with the knowledge we come across. Inquire into it, understand it, stay with it long enough to be able to draw our own insights. And people are looking forward to such insights. In a gathering like this, each of us is searching for something. But how many of us truly understand what are we searching for? Why are we searching? Where are we searching? Who is actually searching? Who in me is searching? A part of me or a whole of me? Or just because my friends are talking the subject, I'm also wanting to talk the subject, so I'm trying to gather some knowledge about the subject. Who is actually wanting to know about all these kind of stuff? So I need to really inquire and try and figure out what is this all about. And then stay with that understanding long enough to be able to draw my own insights. Then I will be mindful. Otherwise, I will be mindlessly going to many such satsangs, many such gatherings, come out of it without being impacted even a little. And all that could have happened at the end of that 1 hour that you spent, perhaps, is you would have accumulated some knowledge. You wouldn't have really applied that knowledge. And over a period of time, each of these activities that we are engaged in, including going to a satsang regularly, becomes a ritual. And the day it becomes ritual, it's a good sign that you should stop doing that activity. Let me close it with the story and then open it up for discussion and question and answer. It seems there is a monastery in which there are many students learning under this guru, and there's a Buddhist monastery. So they used to meditate for hours together. And there is this cat which had entered the monastery and was living in the monastery. And it used to mew around every now and then, which used to distract the young monks who were trying to meditate. So in order to help the young monks, the guru said, or the master said, why don't you tie the cat and keep some milk so that it will stop mewing and you can focus on your meditation. So the students every morning tied the cat, kept some milk and started their meditation, and the cat was happy. They were happy meditating. Months went by, years went by, the guru passed, and the students continued to tie the cat, keep some milk. After a few years, the cat also died. So the students went to a nearby village, brought another cat, tied the cat, kept some milk before starting meditation. And soon the monasteries nearby were looking for new or innovative practices. So they visited this monastery and found the correlation between tying the cat and keeping some milk and enhanced level of meditation. So suddenly the prices of cats went up. Every monastery bought a cat, and they also bought a cow to get the milk for the cat. And I mean, in this time, another 50 years went by, and there came a guru who was very allergic to cat fur. So the minute he saw the cat in the monastery, he said, please get the cat out of the monastery, give it to somebody in the village who will take care of it, who loves the cats, and let's uh, not have the cat in the monastery. And the students took the cat out. Another 10, 15 years went by, and people were looking for new practices, and people found that there's no cat in this monastery. So they also disposed of all their cats. I think we need to live a very engaged life if we want to get the best out of whatever we come across in our life. Otherwise, we will be jumping from one school of wisdom to another school of wisdom to another school of wisdom. Every school of wisdom, every day in your life, every religion has enough wisdom to offer you. Every form of meditation, provided you are willing to understand, stay with it long enough to draw your own insights and create your own wisdom. And the world is waiting for that wisdom that you create. Thank you. Question time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sampat. That was really wonderful, that journey to wisdom, moving from ignorance to wisdom and using the inquiring powers like the 5W and 1H. It was really nice, and we'll open it up now to questions. Any questions? Any questions? Kindly unmute.
Not a question. This is a Balal. I'm a friend, and I've associated myself with Dr. Sampath for a long time now. Sampath, it was great to see you talking. It's probably after 22 years I'm listening to your live session again. I could not stop myself thinking about Kshema Technologies and the sessions that you led there. The effect of your stories have remained the same, and I truly enjoyed it. I was just wondering, initially when you were starting to talk about knowledge and wisdom, I made a comment on the chat saying that is understanding one's own knowledge is the path to wisdom, but you really opened it up with many more layers between knowledge and attaining wisdom, and it was really, really wonderful. Thank you again, and it was great to hear you today.
Thank you, Bilal. Nice that you could find time to be here.
And just one more comment. You talked about the ancient school of wisdom, and I was just remembering that our ancestors practiced a special school of thought, or followed a special school of thought that involved Prashnopanishad, the art of inquiring and seeking knowledge or wisdom to one's own question. So it was really wonderful to hear from you about the ancient school of wisdom and their thoughts as well.
Thank you.
Hello, Sampath sir. I'm Shreyas here.
Hi, Shreyas.
I'm Suraj's friend. Every morning he sends me, the course that you, send it to him, and I feel he says that you and me have some kind of a connect because you just send the right one that I'm looking forward for for that day or something. So it's been like a year. I've been reading your every day, the thing that you send. So I put a question on the chat box as well. I'm about 35 and I'm a running coach. I coach people on running from various spheres of life after having a 10-year stint in the corporate world. Okay. And I meet a variety of people, and both looking at how people are, and when I look at myself and introspect myself, I find there's a big gap between how we are conditioned. Okay, there is a certain condition that we are brought up with, and then we have our own experience with the world. All right. Mm-hmm. And then over a period of time, I feel that a condition at times is so strong, that it overpowers our ability to make a decision between what's right and wrong. We know something is not right, mm-hmm. but yet we, do it because, we come from a place of that, deep-rooted conditioning, that controls us very subconsciously. How to break free from this conditioning and follow the path of dharma? How do we find our own dharma and have faith in that more and liberate ourselves from this deep-rooted conditioning?
Thank you, Shreyas. It's a very important question, and you brought something very powerful thing that limits many of us. Why only the coaches? I think it also limits the coaches themselves. And many years ago, I did a lot of work with parables. So I also developed this ability to respond to a question or to answer a question with a parable. So I'm going to share a story with you. It seems on the riverbed of Ganges, there were a village of creatures whose lifestyle was to cling to the stones on the riverbed. They were born clinging, they live clinging, they die clinging. And there's one creature who said, I'm tired of this clinging, I want to let go. And he shared it with his friends, and they said, no, we are born to cling, we live clinging, we die clinging, you can't let go. And they went and told the parents, and the parents sent the boy to a coach, and the coach coached him and said, don't do any such experiment. The current of the river is so strong, it will upturn and kill you. Okay. So the creature clung to the stone much more harder, not for too long, but this time he learned from the previous mistake. This time he didn't share with anybody. He took a deep breath and left the rock that he was holding on to. Now the flowing current did bruise him, but the same current brought him up, and he was floating very freely along the flow of the river. Creatures below looking at like them, started, hey, here's a Mahan, here's a savior who's come to save us. Looking down at them, he said, I'm not a Mahan, I'm not a savior. All that I did was I left everything that I was clinging to. Much of our conditioning is our clinging. And I again make this statement, we all create an identity for ourselves as early as we can and spend the rest of our life trying to protect that identity. If we realize that there's no identity and that identity is unknown, and if we keep emerging from one identity to the another identity to the next identity, we may one day discover that we include everything that we come across in us. So I think breaking the conditioning is a personal choice. And there are many layers of conditioning that we all have. The top layers are perhaps easier to break, but as you get deeper, it becomes harder to break sometimes. And even what I'm saying can be a conditioning that one needs to be, I need to be focusing on. Is it really harder when I go deeper to break those conditioning? So I think, I don't know if I answered your question, but for me, one has to let go. Any condition becomes a limitation for one's growth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreyas.
Dr. Sampath, this is Sampath from Hyderabad.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I am doing fine, old timer. Yeah. So I heard you when you said, I know when I know, and I know when I don't know.
Right.
It's a very powerful statement. And I have a question in the chat box. And the question is, how to deal with the people, a person who knows not and knows not he knows not. And the other type is, he knows and knows not he knows. So how to deal with them? And one compliment which I would like to give you is the brilliant framework that you gave earlier in my times on the value mapping and value clarification was one. And now the journey from ignorance to wisdom, the very powerful framework. Thank you for that and my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So if I understood your question, how do I know how do I discover what I don't know as what I don't know? I mean, there is conscious ignorance, which is I know I don't know. Unconscious ignorance is I don't even know I don't know. And to me, one way to discover that is to remain open in all kinds of situations, not knowing what is going to come to me. And once it comes to me, can I explore that? That is going to be something which is very, very important. Many a time, if you would have shared, yeah, I'm going to be sitting in this satsang, would you want to join? Somebody will say, hey, what is this satsang all about? Who's going to be talking? What are they going to be talking about? Do I need to know everything before even I get there? Or can I go with an open mind? So if I am to know what if I'm to know what I don't know, I remain completely open to everything that comes to me. And as they come to me, I will discover that I didn't even know such a thing existed. And that will start expanding and bring that to you knew you didn't know that. And then you can get into understanding that and drawing your own reflection and introspection on it and draw your own wisdom. So for me, to help such people, you'll have to help them to remain open in all kinds of situations, not come into any space with any preconceived or preconditioned mind. That is what will help them discover what they don't even know they don't know.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sampath. I'd like to tell you, people have really appreciated your talk, and in the chat, they've written powerful talk, excellent talk. I'd like you to go through the chat sometime, and they have really enjoyed it. Any more questions, anyone? Yes. Any more questions?
So I see, yeah, that is Balal. That question has been answered. So I'm trying to pick up some questions from the chat box.
I must say that, I really enjoyed all your stories. They were so powerful. Lots of stories which made it so interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
So thank you for the opportunity, Sajani, and I enjoyed sharing what little I know, and I still keep inquiring into what I've shared. And when I work with people, I ask them to give me another perspective to what I've shared. If any one of you who are listening to me think there is something missing in this framework, or there's a question that you have, I put my email, I put my phone number. You can send a WhatsApp message or shoot a question to my email ID, and I'll be very happy to look at them. I may or may not know the answer to them, but I will promise you that I will stay with those questions long enough till I get some insights around them.
Anyone else with any questions?
Hello.
Sampath sir, one question from me. This is Arsha. Again, answer Suraj and Shrey's friend. So just want to know your your thoughts on this. If we just go about our business, all right, all through our life, and probably you are one of those who are not staying in the major cities. Probably you are in a tier 2 city, and all through your life you do one particular job, and you just be on your own, and you mind about just your family, and don't say any negatives or don't think any negative about the others. Then if that's the case, does all this matter? Meaning we talk about the wisdoms, or we talk about the thought process, whatnot, right? Because what I feel is the whatever we discuss, majorly all this mental imbalance or the thoughts, this is mostly applicable for the people who are in the cities. So my question is, why this is, and does it really matter if we do the way I think, right? As the way I mentioned to you.
Harsha, your thought process makes me question something very fundamental.
Yeah.
I believe a lot more wisdom is available in the rural setup than what is available in this what so-called busy towns.
Hello.
the interesting part is, if I don't
Hello,
do any of these
Baker
things,
speaking.
I will exist and I will continue to do what I'm doing repetitively. Okay. So again, Harsha, I will tell you a small little story which will perhaps answer the question that you asked me. It seems there's a man who was reading a book and he discovered that there is a stone on the shore of the Black Sea which has the power to convert anything it touches into gold. And the book was authentic, so he believed the book and he set out to the place that the book referred to. The map was given, exact location was given. But when he reached there, he found heaps and heaps of stones. And one of these stones had this property. And it also said that the stone will be warm when you touch it. So he decided a process so that he doesn't miss any stone. He took a stone, felt it on his cheek, threw it into the ocean if it was not warm. And from morning to evening, he kept doing this. He would come there, take a stone, put it on his cheek. If it is not warm, throw it. And this continued for days, weeks, months. And one morning he came, he took a pebble, felt it on his cheek, threw it, another one, and took another one, felt it on his cheek, threw it, and then realized that was the warm stone that he was looking for. And it had already gone into the ocean. So when I live life without having to reflect on anything, if I'm a farmer in a village doing my job every morning, if I don't understand the plants, if I don't understand the seasons, if I don't understand looking at the sky, there are many villages who can say it's going to rain or not. Looking at the crop, they will say, hey, is this year going to be a good yield or not a good yield? How did they acquire that? Because they stayed with it, they reflected on it. They have the ability to connect those dots. So it's not, do we want to just exist? For that, you can employ a robot. If we are humans, we will have to apply ourselves on whatever we are doing. I can be sweeping every day, but can I become a better sweeper? So that when I sweep something, it's spick and span, it's the cleanest. So I would believe that if I try and understand whatever I'm involved in, if I engage with what I'm doing, then the quality of whatever I do will be of great value to people around me and to myself. I hope I answered, Harsha.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, make sense. Hey, it's the end of the day. What value you had than leading a mundane life, thing, or the thought process, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Sampat.
Yes.
Myself, Uday, calling from Gurgaon.
Hi, Uday.
Hi.
You don't need to tell your name. Your voice is good enough.
Okay. So I have one question. See, between mindless learning and mindful learning, there is one cusp between knowledge and understanding that you explained about inquiry. But there is a Whatman filter you explained in early stages when we were the disciples of you is I know. How to break that I know?
Yeah. How to break that I know?
Yes. How to help people to break that I know?
I think all of your questions are tempting me to tell a story.
Yeah, please.
So whenever somebody says how to break it, or it simply means, Sampath, I don't have time to reflect on this and I don't have time to understand this. But if you have a solution, give me that. Is one part of the answer. But another answer is, if I have a question and if I really want to solve it, then this story can be of some relevance to the context in which this question has been raised. It seems there's a Westerner who wanted to know what it means to achieve salvation. So he, those days Google was not there. He heard about Saint Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He was a Westerner. He was doing a good business. He left everything and came to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and said, look, I want to achieve my moksha. So help me. And the Guru said, okay, be here, do everything that we are doing. And being a Westerner, he was very disciplined, getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, going to the Ganges, meditating, did everything. Weeks passed, months passed, years passed, 10 years went by. He didn't have sign of moksha, or those insights didn't pop into his head. And so one day he went to the master and said, look, I've been here 10 years doing everything that you asked me to do, but nothing has happened. I don't think there's anything called as realization or moksha, whatever it is. So the saint, being the wise person that he was, he said, so what have you decided? He said, if I had put this effort into my business, my £1,000,000 business would have become a £1 billion business by now. So I've decided to leave. So he said, okay, no problem. But before, when are you going? He said, right away. He said, wait for a day. Tomorrow morning we'll go for meditation together, and then you can leave. So he said, okay, the old man is respected by everybody. Let me stay back for a day. What will I lose? And he stayed back. Next day morning at 4 o'clock. Both of them were in the hip deep water at the Ganges meditating. After the meditation, he asked the man to put his head under the water, and he held his head under the water by keeping his hand on the head of the student. Few seconds went by, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Now 45 seconds, this guy was struggling for his breath. And there came a point of time, if he didn't get a fresh breath of air, he would lose his life. That was the moment that he, through the saint, gained came out of the water and took a fresh breath of air, or breathed a fresh breath of air. When the saint regained his balance, and he also regained his balance, he asked, what are you trying to do with me? And the saint said, oh, I was wondering, had you tried for this fresh breath of, had you tried for your realization, the way you tried for the fresh breath of air, you need not have lost 10 years of your life. I think many of us keep asking questions. We seriously don't commit ourselves to the question. I was telling you, when one of these students asked me a question, for next 4 days and nights, I couldn't sleep. Is this question bothering you enough to lose your sleep? Is this question pushing you enough? How do I make people come out of I know framework? Is that question bothering you enough? Do you also have a part of what you're trying to solve in others? How do you understand that part? Why do you get stuck there? If you start reflecting on all these dimensions, you will come up with something for sure. And that will help some people. There's no one solution that will help everybody, Uday. Each one solution is independent. What you can do is help people realize, and they'll have to solve their own problems. But the minute you start solving their problems, they will start living a scot-free life, and you'll have to run their life.
Thank you. That answers.
Thank you, Uday. Yeah, go ahead.
Any other questions?
I just want to compliment Sampath. We are in the midst of consumerism. And the ancient wisdom says the material wealth has no use in the long term. As defined by Nasiketa, repeated questions from Shiva. There's also an Yajnavalkya who has 2 wives. He decided to go to forest and do some tabas. He wanted to distribute the wealth to his 2 wives. One wife said, I don't want. If you don't want, I don't also want. So the idea is we have everything, but we have kept our eyes closed. So we have to slightly open the objection and then see reality as it is. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your sharing.
Sampat, I have a question.
Go ahead.
My problem is that I have too many interests. I'd like to go deeper in the topic that you're mentioning, but life demands and jobs and wanting to understand and get wise or gain wisdom is kind of difficult, because the area of the interest, I think, in anything that if I want to go deeper, it needs the lifetime, and I don't think I have enough time somehow. So for job is the way that I work is I have the interest in that, but I have other interests as well, like music, like spiritual practice, and it's kind of hard for me to include and integrate all of that in just one of them, which is my job, for example. So how would I go about that to just get deeper in one of those items in order to succeed?
Yeah, this is my little understanding of what you're going through in my own life. You can take one thing and discover many things out of that one thing, or you can work with many things and discover one thing out of the many things, because there is a commonality across things. There is everything is also hidden in one thing. Like if you go very deep into music, you can discover life through music. Or if you go into several subjects, you will see traces of life in each of those subjects. The choice is yours. But the digging and the inquiry, the reflection, the introspection that needs to be done is the same in both the approaches. So I didn't know if you're telling that I don't have time to inquire into all the subjects that I'm engaged in, then you'll have to find time. When you say you don't have some resources, it simply means it's not become a priority for me. But the truth is, I can discover both ways. I can have multiple disciplines and discover the common insights across disciplines, or take one discipline and discover that the fundamentals of that discipline exist in all disciplines. This is my understanding this far in life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Makes sense. Actually. Yeah.
So I'd really like to thank you, Dr. Sampath, and I'd like to inform the audience that the Spiral of Wisdom Sathsangs are organized every Thursday by the School of Ancient Wisdom. Now, next Thursday, we have a person called Vinod who will be speaking about Sharda Desha. And if any of you would like to get to know about them, kindly leave your phone number in the chat box and we'll add you to our WhatsApp group. So I know there are quite a few new people, and every Thursday we have wonderful speakers. So once you get on to the WhatsApp group, you will get messages. Now with this, we have come to the end of a wonderful session. Thank you so much. And we look forward to meeting you in person at the school.
Thank you, Sajani. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity, and thank you to all those who found time to be a part of this conversation. Though I was talking more, your mind was talking to me. Any good dialogue is welcome to help us discover something new. Thank you for the opportunity, and I feel I had an opportunity to give something to the School of Ancient Wisdom. Thank you.
And today is a special day, as I said, Vaikunta Ekadashi. Right. So we're really blessed to have had you here talking to us.
Thank you.
And now I would like Ramesh to propose a formal vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta. Ramesh?
Thank you, Sajani. Well, what can I say? Where do I start? Dr. Sampat, it was really wonderful hearing you out today. It was a powerful satsang for me. I did open my eyes, actually, a couple of areas. Being mindful, I think you really kind of got us to being mindful. Maybe even if it was for a moment, you got us to be mindful. And, you know, when you said, why do we come to satsangs, it got me thinking, because I've asked that question to myself many times. I told myself it's because of the vibrations, because you hear the same thing through maybe a little, the dialect is different, or the topic might be a bit different, but basically it boils down to the same thing. And you come for the vibration is what I thought. But, you know, when you just took us through the, how you said wisdom is far more significant. It was far more important than just mere knowledge. And just to sum up, you know, the theory part, because I think it's nice to sum it up to start off with. You said it starts with the ignorance, and if we have a desire to acquire knowledge, which many of us do have, and then we acquire knowledge, but that might just be mindless knowledge until and unless we start, you know, inquiring and understanding. And therefore, when we introspect we get insights, and then we integrate those insights into our lives, and that integration process becomes wisdom. And that's something that we have to experience, and that is really when it becomes mindful learning. So that kind of opened my eyes. It was not just a theory, but in between all these words, what kind of stood out was, I must also add that one gentleman, I think it was Mr. Shekhar, who mentioned that your messages seem to be very apt for the day. I think a person who is connected to the divine, who's a clear channel of the divine, has that ability to just pass on messages which seem to make sense, just at the right time for you. So being capable of reflecting and introspecting is something that I started doing even as you were talking about satsangs in general. And I understand when you said it becomes a ritual, then it's time to stop it. And that kind of struck me. So I'm going to start introspecting on that. And I love your stories. I think stories are very powerful. Parables are very powerful. People have known them through history, that they have a much stronger impact than merely, wisdom spoken in one line, perhaps. So your stories are very engrossing. And another thing that kind of stayed with me is when you said let go of past conditioning. And your satsang today is also opportune in a way, because I probably it will reflect on me in the next 3 days, because I'm going through a program which could be transformational. So whatever points you have indicated today seems to also have a direct relevance to me here. So also when you said another powerful thing that struck me was how earnestly or how badly do we want a personal growth. That's something that we need to revisit now and then, when we get stuck in the rut of life, and maybe through repetitive satsangs. So that's another thing that stood out, and be a space to help people realize and let them solve their own problems. That was another very powerful message. So thank you so much, Dr. Sampath. Thank you.